Hi, good afternoon. Students coming into FASS, welcome. My name is Dr. Ling, so I'm representing the department today to speak to you as well as to answer any queries from you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Shall we go to the first question, please?
Yes.
Okay, so if I am interested in taking social work as a minor or a major, would sociology or psychology be a better fit together with social work? Are there other suitable majors?
Well, conventionally, it was compulsory for social majors to take sociology as the other major. This is because sociology is a systematic study of the development, structure, and functioning of a human society. So with that knowledge, it actually helps social work as an applied discipline to address the conditions that affect individuals, families, and groups. So this is usually helpful for intervention at a community or even at societal level, and even in the form of policy. So in short, sociology deals with understanding society, while social work focuses on making positive social changes and problem-solving interventions in society. So that's about a fit between social and social and sociology. So on the other hand, psychology, I think we just had that session earlier on. It is also a wonderful discipline. It's a scientific study of the mind and behavior of a person in a group. So personally, I would see that psychology focuses more on the intrapersonal aspects of knowledge. And with that knowledge, it also helps social work to address the social, emotional, psychological needs of a person. And this is usually helpful for intervention at an individual level in the form of casework or individual counseling. So on the question, if sociology or psychology, which one is a better fit if social work? Personally, I believe that both are equally good fit with social work. So because each brings in their own and unique contributions to social work theory and practice, I guess fundamentally you must be interested in the discipline itself in order to read it as a major or minor. Whether other majors are also suitable, personally, I believe that other majors are also possible as long as you're interested in it and you can make good use of what you have learned. Take, for example, our Associate Professor Irene Ling from our department. Actually, she read economics as the other major during their undergrad days. And that makes her a wonderful expert on poverty issues and working with low-income families and social policy. So I believe that there's a flexibility. Yeah.
Okay, great. Next question. So for a major such as social work, would a BA be sufficient requirement to becoming a social worker, or must one complete the honors track to attain such a position?
Right. A 3-year program in social work is sufficient for you to be employed as a social worker. This is because besides completing the required number of modules, one key criterion that you would have fulfilled as a 3-year program is the 800 hours of field placement. And that would qualify you to apply as a conditional registered social worker. All right, so once you get a job as a social worker, you just have to complete another 200 hours of supervised practice under a registered social worker supervision. And once you clock the extra 200 hours, you can apply for a full-fledged registered social worker. So subsequently, it's just the same as other professionals. You just have to fulfill a certain number of hours of continual professional education to keep your status as a registered social worker. So a 3-year program is sufficient if you're not interested in honors year. Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you. So now we're just about to go to our live Q&A session. So if you've just joined us, you can scan this QR code, or you can go to the web link below, pollev.com/FASS live webinar, polyv.com/FASS live webinar. But I think before we go to these questions, the social work department actually has a publicity video that they'd like for us to show. So I think we're going to screen that first before we go into these live questions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of us have our own unique stories of our time in university. My story started when I decided to choose social work as my major. Upon learning about this decision, my friends asked me a variety of questions. What's that? Isn't that volunteer work? And do you really need to study to do social work? Well, they were just curious to know what social work is all about. Each time they do, I am more than happy to tell them that social work is definitely so much more. Social work is a learning journey towards understanding how we can better help those in need. As social work majors, we learn various theories and approaches to better help clients of different ages and backgrounds. Furthermore, as I went along, I realized that learning in social work is not simply studying by the book, but also gaining hands-on experience through role-playing. Role-play is an important component of our classwork and really helps us to apply what we have learned in class. We took turns to act as social workers and clients in various scenarios while our lecturer and classmates gave feedback. This aids in our awareness of potential difficulties that we might face when we undergo our field placement during the summer break. Now, you must be wondering, what is field placement? Field placement is something unique that social work majors have to undergo as part of our course. During this placement, we are assigned to different social service agencies in the field, such as hospitals, prisons, the community, and the list goes on. We are required to play the role of a professional social worker to address the various needs of actual clients, such as financial and emotional needs. This may seem intimidating, but fortunately, we were each assigned a supervisor who was there to guide us and facilitate our learning experience. All in all, not only does field placement enable us to put classroom theories into practice and help us develop our professional selves through working with actual clients, it also serves to enhance our knowledge of ourselves through self-reflection and professional supervision. In social work, great emphasis is placed on self-awareness. As social workers, it is important that we understand our values, beliefs, strengths, and weaknesses to better help our clients. For example, why do I form certain judgments towards certain clients? Why do I feel particularly angry or sad when some clients share their life stories with me? Or even, why do I want to study social work in the first place? Once explored, it would help us to better understand ourselves as individuals and social workers. Having to journey through this social work course, I have to admit, it is truly not an easy one. Thankfully, I have been blessed with a tightly knit community of friends and professors who are always willing to listen and lend a helping hand. Without them, my time in social work would not have been as rewarding, enjoyable, memorable, and exciting. Many people have asked me why I chose to do social work. And here's my story. Are you ready to embark on yours?
Okay, so that was the publicity video from the social work department, a rundown of what they do. So now I think what we're going to do is go into our live questions, and we'll just take them one by one. So the first question is, give us a second, let the questions load up a bit. Okay, maybe I will start with the first question. We don't necessarily need it on the screen. Oh, okay, here we go. So the workload for a psychology and social work double major, is it very heavy?
Well, I do not really have the statistics, but based on students' feedback, it can be heavy. I guess really depending on what modules you do and the number of modules that you do in the semester.
Thank you. I think we'll have a couple of questions at least about field placement. So the dates for field placement in the upcoming academic year, and then how does the concurrent field placement work? Right.
The field placements, traditionally, we will put it during the long-term break. That means during now, all right? Once you finish your examinations in May, so you start your 10 weeks of placement until end of July. So that's the block placement that we always go for in your, once you finish the first year, going to second year, as well as second going to third year. Though there are some who delay their declaration as a major, they may go to their second placement in their third to fourth year. So, and how does concurrent field placement work? Well, it will run concurrently with the term time. So you will block out certain days where you go down to the agency for placement while you return to the campus for other modules that you have to read. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so if I am planning to take a double major with social work as my primary major, do I just have to follow the graduation requirements of the single major in social work?
I do not really understand the question. Is this more of an administrative question?
It would be a little bit. So to the student, I think I would encourage you to check out the respective websites at the Dean's Office as well as the social work department. And if you have any further questions about specific requirements, I will also encourage you to write into FASS Help. So FASSHELP, FASS Help at nus.edu.sg. Yeah. So let's move on to our next question. About the introductory course, 111E usually includes a field trip.
Yes.
What will this be like in the upcoming semester since everything is online?
Well, I don't think I can speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think it really depends on individual instructors for the course. This is really something that all of us are struggling with. Due to COVID-19, but I believe that my colleague would do his or her utmost best to include this field trip, be it virtual or just an online discussion with the experts. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, so back to field placement. do I have to source for these two placements on my own, or will it be allocated?
Fortunately, you don't have to source for the placement on your own. It can be a tough job. This is managed by the team of the fieldwork team who will try to source for placement vacancies to be allocated to students. Students may go for balloting, but some places are very popular, so we have to draw lots and see who get it. But ultimately, all of you will have a placement that you can go for. Yeah.
Okay. Well, related to kind of work issues, so what are the differences between a clinical and a non-clinical social worker?
I don't think we have this term. What is clinical social worker and non-clinical social worker? Maybe anyone who can define this. We do have direct and indirect social work. All right, direct social work has to do with dealing with clients directly, really as an individual or family, or even a community. Yeah. Non-clinical, I will assume that it is an indirect social work, and this has to do more with policies and research. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if whoever asked this question, if you have any further elaboration, please feel free to
Please
post
yeah.
again.
I just want to make sure that justice is given to your question.
Yeah, but again, work issues. So is it true that social workers need a high emotional capacity? Because I've heard that the nature of social work is quite intense.
Well, I guess EQ is definitely needed because in my own words, all right, I think every family that social workers see will not be a happy family when they walk into a agency such as a family service center, or they have certain issues to deal with. So a high EQ would be needed. Otherwise, we can't be a good helping hand to the families in need. Yeah. But different populations that you work with will require different levels of emotional capacity. Definitely those that are highly charged will be those who are very vulnerable, such as children who are being abused. All right, this will be very intensive and vulnerable group, and it will really require a lot of your emotional capacity. But there are others which are lesser, like such as community work. You may not require that huge amount of emotional capacity. But I would say fundamentally, you must love to meet people, to talk with people, and to engage with people. Yeah, for social work.
Well, along the same lines, would you say that social work as a career is difficult or is challenging?
I wonder, is there any career that's not difficult and not challenging in the first place? I think every career has its own challenging aspect, but yet at the same time, it has its own beauty. Personally, to me, social work is always attractive to me. I think I can stay in social work till retirement or even post-retirement, because every person that I come across will never be the same. They all have their own unique life stories that they will share with you and you can work with. So it is challenging in the sense that you don't have a standard formula, right? But you do have knowledge behind you to help you to think about and how to go about working with them. So it is challenging in that sense. But I don't see it as a negative point. It won't bore you down. There won't be boredom.
Okay, thank you. So we are just about at 5, but for those of you who are here for the 5 o'clock session on sociology, we're running just a little bit late, so we're going to go a little bit more with social work before going on to sociology. So right now, I'd like to actually jump over a couple of questions. So to come back to this clinical social worker thing, there is a question about how about medical social worker, medical versus non-medical social workers?
Well, medical social worker, by its name, it means that you are working in the healthcare settings. All right. So medical settings such as hospital, it could be acute hospital, tertiary hospital, community hospital, even hospices. So these are the key medical settings that you will work with. Though there are also medical social workers in polyclinics, right? Primary health care. So these are the key ones. In community-based medical social work can be found in hospices as well as nursing homes. Those are the community-based medical. Well, for non-medical social work, meaning community-based social work. So that will be family service centers, even institutions such as prison, even ministries such as Ministry of Social and Family Development, National Council of Social Service, all the youth centers. Yeah, so quite a number. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And so again, on the same line of kind of variance in career, Do social work majors only work in the social service industry when they graduate?
Well, honestly, I wish that all social work graduates will work in social service industry when they graduate, because after all, you spend at least 3 years, right, to really specialize and major in this discipline. It's a professional applied discipline. But we do know that not all social work majors graduate and work as a social worker. So there are quite a number too who work in HR, all right, who work in schools, education sector. So no.
Okay, great. Okay, let's take the next question. So do I need to apply for overloading of MCs if I do a concurrent field placement, since each placement takes 8 MCs?
I guess I may not be the best person to answer this question. Administrative colleague will be helpful. But as far as I know, it's not automatic given that you can overload your MCs. Yeah. So, but you may want to check with my administrative colleague. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're curious about this, please write into the social work department or to FASSHELP, FASSHELP@nus.edu.sg. Next question, fieldwork agencies. What are these agencies, and how do they support, I guess, our education or support the community?
Right. So during the 10 weeks when you are placed in an agency, so it could be a hospital, it could be a hospice, it could be a family service centers, it could be a youth center, it could, yeah, so it could even be in a ministry. So you will be attached 10 weeks, which is equivalent to 400 hours under a supervisor. All right, so this is a field supervisor who will work closely with you to help you to integrate your theories with practice. So you'll be really working with real clients. So for the first placement, you're highly likely to be shadowing your supervisor, seeing the families together with a supervisor before you can become more independent in seeing cases. So you are heavily supervised in your work, and they will also evaluate your practice towards the end. So on top of that, we also have a faculty member who will do a mid-placement visit to ensure that you are on the right track in your placement. And you are also supposed to report back to the department, I think bi-weekly, for a practice seminar. That's where you meet all your other course mates in a seminar where you will learn more about your placement. Yeah, under another seminar tutor. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, back to, I think, something of a similar question to just now. Oh, by the way, we are 5:05, so I think we're going to go for 5 more minutes. We'll try and clear all these questions, but if not, please feel free to continue to write into the relevant channels of your questions. So I think the question is about the demands of taking social work as a primary or first major in a double major program compared to just taking social work as a single major. Are the demands any different, or would it be less, perhaps, in a double major program?
I may not be the right person to answer this question.
Sorry,
yes, Ching is here. I'm from Department of Social Work.
Yeah, Ching, great.
Yes, for social work requirements, first major as well as single major students, they will need to fulfill 44 MCs of social work modules. So it's actually the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually the same for first major, single major, and second major. 44 MCs.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thanks so much for jumping in.
Thank you, Jingo.
Welcome.
Okay, let's go on to the next question. So, some examples of field work that will be conducted. I think we talked a bit about it, but
yeah.
You
mean the field placement, or is it the experiential learning? I'm not too sure about that.
Perhaps both. I mean, we've talked a bit about field placement. And anything else to add? I mean, from an experiential learning
Well, when situations are good, all right, unlike COVID-19 now, where we can't really go out to do experiential learning. So we tend to bring students down to run projects such as neighborhood health service, for example, when I used to teach medical social work. So I will have an inter-professional discipline project with nursing students, with Yonglulin medical students. We will be stationing in the community, and we do door-to-door health check for elderly who are of low income, and especially those who are alone. Yeah, so those are the experiential learning that we try to provide for the students. Even for group work and youth work, we try to. Yeah, so even for agency visits. But currently with this COVID-19, I'm not too sure how far we can go. Yeah, at least for my own module, I have invited the experts to come in on board virtually. Yeah, where they will introduce to us the programs that they have. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe last couple of questions. So how much of social work is preparing practitioners for the job of being a social worker? And how much of it is more from kind of a social policy perspective?
I believe there's a balance of both. You need both. You need both micro as well as macro perspective. So definitely the core modules will be practice-oriented kind of modules like interpersonal skills, family work, group work, community work. But we also have modules on policies, which are needed. Yeah, so it's a balance of both.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, just to round this session off, how would you say the social work is perceived by the public in terms of a career? What would you say to students who are considering social work as a career?
Well, social work is definitely a professional degree, right? There's a lot of misconception thinking that social work is volunteer work. No, we are not. We do more than a volunteer. And what makes us different from a volunteers is that we are really equipped with a body of knowledge so that we know how and what to do in the timing of doing certain things. Not just doing the right things, but doing things right. All right? And so that must, and one key difference between social workers and volunteers is that we have to abide by the code of ethics. All right, so we do have a code of ethics to abide by. So this makes us different. I would say that over the years, the public image of social work has become better and better compared to my time when I was an undergraduate. All right, and in fact, our pay is comparable to other professionals. We are not shortchanged. All right, we are in the middle range as well. Yeah, so in terms of career, so far I don't hear from students having problems to find a job, even now. All right, so I think in terms of career, we have far to go. And if you were to look at our the video clip that we've produced, we also have very well-established figures in the society who are in social work. Right, the highest position means our late Mr. Naden.
Yes.
So our late president, he's really one of our first batch of social work students. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're at 5:10. So thank you very much, Associate Prof. Geok Ling, for joining us and for speaking to the freshmen here today. If you have any further questions, please go ahead and direct them to the social work department or to the Dean's office via phone or email at fasthelp@nus.edu.sg.